That time I got reincarnated as a demon lord, English, by LordedoMal44. Slime Chan and her friends 01 I think, therefore I exist. That was the first thing that popped into my mind. In a dark world, where nothing could be seen or heard, where nothing seemed to exist, this simple and complex idea popped into my head and changed my reality.
I was real. I am real. And then PA. Information.
Something touched me. I couldn't tell what that something was just by touching it, but a part of me just knew there was something there. Something I had never felt before. Why I didn't exist before, but I exist now. And if I exist now, then I have to decide what I'm going to call this thing. Let's see. This is rough and porous. It's quite strange, actually, but how do I know what's normal if I still barely know anything? I thought like this, trying to find a meaning for everything I felt. Words, or who knows what they meant, just popped into my mind, and I just felt like that was the right thing to think about everything. Let's call it floor, and the floor is made of stone. Suddenly, the feeling changed. A couple of soft things grabbed my body, pulled me off the ground. A calming feeling spread through my body the moment these things touched me, and a mystical feeling was inside my mind. I don't know what that is, but that seems to have will. It can move, unlike the ground. That too existed. Something that exists and has will. Something that has life. Did this have something to do with my existence? I wasn't sure, but it didn't seem like it was against my existence. Also, I feel like it was similar to me somehow, like the same energy that was inside him was in me too. I tried to focus on the energy I and the thing holding me in its arms had. It was hard to feel, but I still struggled, trying to find the trigger for the sensation. The energy seemed to increase for a moment, and gradually that energy became clearer and clearer in my mind. Less than extra skill, magic perception, has been acquired. Greater than words. The moment those words sounded out, the feeling I was feeling became even clearer than before. Now, unlike before, I feel a silhouette form in front of me, holding me in its arms. The silhouette was taking a clear shape in front of me, but there was nothing definite about it. It was difficult to understand. There was also something different from the image forming in front of me, something traveling all over the place, like waves. It reacts with the thing holding me, the ground, and all the other alive things I feel around me. And even as I concentrated on that thing, a noise popped into my head. For now, I'll call this annoying thing sound. Still, the sound wasn't all bad. There was something soft about the sound the thing holding me was making that was calming, just like the other things around me. It was like something natural, and I felt so calm listening to this noise that I didn't even care about all the noise that came with it.
And then, a voice rang in my head. Less than I don't think you want to miss this moment. So, let me help you, my child. Greater than. As soon as I heard it, inside my head, among my thoughts, with the same calm voice that I heard among the noises, information began to be processed faster inside me.
The world around me took on color. The ground below me appeared definitely, just as I felt it, with a grayish color. The thing that was holding me also appeared, its brown skin and white and silver hair, with a pair of red-colored eyes. The aura around the thing holding me also clearly appeared to me, much more reassuring than before. Once that happened, I was also able to see farther than I thought existed. The world was so beautiful. I saw the other, alive, things that were around me, 3 in total, with different shapes than mine, and of course, I saw him. The moment I saw him, I knew there was something about him that was different from everything else around me. His aura, more calming than anything else in the environment, all while he was apparently focusing on something that wasn't me or the other living things around him. Still, I felt at peace, just by his presence. He is my father, this thought popped into my head. I don't know what Dad meant, but I hope it's a good thing. When my father finally paid attention to me, I could no longer hold back the desire that had suddenly been born inside me. Following an impulse, I, as well as the other living things around me, simply jumped towards or maybe our father. He was stunned for a moment, and as a result he couldn't stand up. Even so, the aura around the father remained the same. He didn't seem angry or sad about what we did. Whatever those things were, He just looked confused, like he didn't know what was going on or was surprised by our reaction. And then, after he seemed to accept all of that, he started to say something. I didn't understand the exact meaning behind whatever he was saying, but I was able to understand a thing or two. One of the things I understood was when he talked to me and Sarai. That will be your name. He gave me a name. 58. The end of the Hunger Games. The scene in front of me had changed to a real battlefield, and I could only open my mouth in confusion at what was happening. Two girls, my own daughters, who had been born less than 2 full months ago, were fighting, against each other in a truly lively, deadly battle. Argento moved at breakneck speeds few in my entire camp could keep up with. Shiraori launched powerful capable attacks of shattering trees with his clean hands, and knocked down millions of trees from the playing field battle. Meanwhile, I wondered how these two managed to fight like that after they appeared so recently. Less than answer. Monsters that have suffered the effects of unique skill, have good understanding of their skills, allowing for accelerated growth. Due to the skills effect, the two skills developed faster than older monsters in the wild. Greater than. I understand. Well, if so, then it makes sense. While I was thinking about it, Argento launched another one of his supercharged energy balls towards Shiraori. Shiraori, covering her arms with more of her sticky steel thread, once again defending the ball as if strength had been nothing. As she was dragged backward, her 8 paws left 8 marks on the ground. Of course, the amount of damage she was taking was piling up, of that I had no doubt. To tell you the truth, even I wasn't sure about taking all those attacks like it was nothing. Still, Shiraori seemed really determined to win this battle. Shiraori, nay. Give up. This time, I will win. Argento-chan. For my pride. As the big sister, I can't lose here. The venomous look seeped from both of their eyes, along with all the murderous intent that shouldn't exist in a family recreation like this. Still, I was too entertained by this game to stop the two of them now, and I still want to see what my own daughters are capable of. While thinking that way, Shiraori smiled, a cute smile that really didn't match the bloodlust she exuded. 8 red-colored eyes loomed over her face, glaring at Argento in a macabre way. And then, as if he was serious now, Shiraori launched the ball again, this time filled with aura. The strength of the attack, as expected, had doubled. Argento, perhaps having realized this, chose to evade the attack rather than defend, even with his sonic wave attack, and just walked out of the way. But that didn't work. Shiraori, using one of his sticky steel threads, that were coated in his aura, manipulate one of his threads to change the thread's direction without losing strength. Argento uses his wings, accompanied by a shockwave, to propel himself with the maximum of his strength, making his body move out of the way. Using shockwaves in various areas around his body, Argento would spin around in midair as if it were nothing, shifting his position and dodging the ball as it lunged at his body over and over again. While Argento focused on that, Shiraori, like any good spider, finished setting his trap. When Argento reduced altitude to dodge the ball, several steel wires extended above her, forming a net in the sky above her that gradually lowered in altitude to imprison her body. At the same time, on the ground below her, a second net, of sticky threads, had been woven so that when it fell to the ground, Argento would be trapped. In short, take your opponent to a place where he can't move and finish him off there. That's the kind of strategy Shiraori decided to use. Argento, however, did not intend to fall into that trap. Sharpening her eyes for a moment as she seemed to weigh her options, Argento gathered sonic waves around her hands and emitted them, forming blades that flew against the wires. Seeing this raised a question in my mind. After all, Sage, how dangerous is this attack of hers? It gives off an, I really don't want to get hit by this feeling. Less than answer. This attack is estimated to have the same level as Dark Flame, being a blade of high-pressure wind combined with high-frequency vibrations that spread through the target's body through the entry wound, causing internal deterioration. A target without the necessary defense can be disintegrated by this attack. Greater than. Okay, since when are my daughters so dangerous? While allowing a bit of surprise to settle in my heart, Shiraori let out a tisk sound as she prepared more threads, practically 100 of them, and sent them chasing Argento into the air. With her traps broken and her threads being cut by the second, Shiraori couldn't keep Argento imprisoned, although it still prevented her from catching the ball. As I tried to predict which of the two would win, without the sage's help of course, I was once again surprised by Argento's actions. Despite not having the ball in her hand, which she was supposed to use to attack, Argento charged at Shirori, who theorized was far superior to her in hand-to-hand combat, in a close-range confrontation. This crazy. Does she intend to knock Shirori out before attacking her with the ball? Shirori raised a net of steel wires to protect herself, but Argento just moved her arms while creating blades that cut the wires. And with that, the two approached with truly frightening speed, and then smack! Argento sank his teeth into the arm Shirori used to defend himself, blood flying through the air where she bit. As for me, I was completely taken aback by this unexpected action, not knowing exactly what the point of it all was. Shirori didn't stay still. With Argento on her arm, Shirori immediately created uglies with her other hand and tried to imprison her, but Argento backed away from Shirori before the threads could reach and imprison her. Stepping back enough to get out of range of Shirori's attacks, Argento stood for a moment, wiping the side of his mouth that was smeared with blood. And then, as if to answer the question resonating in my head, Argento's aura expanded as steel wires shot from her fingertips. Let's make this tag fairer. Shirori nay. Who? I see you got serious, huh? Shirori muttered, covering the wound with a garment made of steel wire, her 8 eyes still staring at the image of Argento. At the same time, Shirori also created a wide array of threads from her hands. Then, let's see. If you're that good, Argento-chan.
After that, a war between two thread users started before my eyes. Threads as thin as the thread of any garment flew back and forth between Shirori and Argento, collided with each other, were tied or cut each other, as did the entire environment around us. Wire marks, as if they were the claws of wild beasts, appeared on the ground all over the field, slashing everything in their path. Meanwhile, I was trying to understand, after all, what happened. How had Argento acquired the steel wire skill? Wise, could you explain? Less than the intrinsic skill, blood drain, of the giant bat race allows it to recover spells at the cost of its victim's blood. In addition, the skills of the target whose blood was ingested can be temporarily used. Greater than. I think I remember something about that. I didn't mind that much. I mean, it was just a smaller and weaker version of my predator skill, so it was totally useless to me. Even so, to see this skill in the hands of someone who has no other form, it's really an interesting skill. So basically, she temporarily acquired the skill, sticky steel threads, that Shirori had. Depending on which skills she can steal from her opponents, and if she can steal from more than one opponent or even an ally at the same time, then this is a truly stolen skill. And, worst of all, the giant bats are a weak species, for some reason that is very strange. Returning to the battle. For any normal person, it would be a pretty boring fight. The two were standing in one place, seemingly not moving, just their fingers moving like crazy and their arms moving just slightly. Meanwhile, from his fingertips, dozens of extremely thin and extremely sharp wires swayed, destroying everything in their path in pursuit of hitting his opponent. Neither of them seemed to even bother using the ball now. They just wanted to take down their opponent, as if they had long since forgotten that the game was burned. As I watched this situation, I saw a small smile appear on Argento's face. At almost the same time, a light aura began to surround the threads she was controlling, and those threads began to vibrate at high speeds. At the same time, the threads on the Shirori that came into contact with the threads on the Argento began to be cut or torn apart. Shirori had a surprised face, while Argento just smiled triumphantly, seeing that the union of the two's techniques had worked. I said I would win this time, Shirori nay. I won't give up the prize. Shirori's expression tightened upon hearing those words, and he began to concentrate on making even more threads than before. Whenever his threads were cut or torn apart, Shirori did more and used the new threads to intercept Argento's threads, which were slowly approaching his body. And then, just when I thought victory was already assured, pop! The ball hit Argento's back and landed on the ground before Argento could even turn around to see it. Shirori win. Seal yelled from beside me, smiling slightly. Looking carefully at the battlefield, I saw that, a little behind the Argento, in the place where Shirori had left the ball, there was something sticking out of the ground. a cable, made of steel wires. The moment I saw this, I could understand what had happened. Shirori kept the attacks on the surface as a diversion, with the aim of distracting Argento, and his true objective was to send his threads underneath the ground and attack from behind. That's a pretty ingenious strategy, if I do say so myself. Had I been in the same situation, I probably wouldn't have thought of that same idea, a plan that takes advantage of the enemy's blind spot. Argento was so concentrated, having to use a string technique she wasn't used to, that she couldn't pay attention to her surroundings. Meanwhile, Shirori, who uses the thread technique naturally, could much more easily use her abilities to attack in a way that Argento wouldn't notice. Really, don't fight a spider using your own web. That last thought came to my mind as my two daughters approached, Shirori with her usual shy face and Argento with her sleepy face, and slightly haggard apparently. Well, even if she lost, she doesn't need to be so sad. After all, it was just a game. I guess. Congratulations on your effort, Argento. I'm proud of your skills. I mumbled that and patted her on the head as a consolation prize. The way she closed her eyes and brought her head close to my hand, like a kitten, she probably liked it, and I couldn't help but smile at how cute this situation was. Of course, I could see how Shirori opened her mouth as if she wanted to ask for something, clearly jealous, but was stopped by her own shyness. Well, she was also really cute, despite being 10 feet tall. And you too, Shirori. Congratulations on your excellent technique, and your victory, of course. I deformed my arm into a tentacle, leaving just my hand like a normal hand, and patted Shirori on the head as well. She clearly started smiling happily at that, closing her eyes just like Argento, and for some reason when she opened her eyes only 2 eyes opened instead of her natural 8 eyes. So what are the plans after the burn? I asked this, innocently, with the purest of intentions. It was at that moment that, without realizing it, I had fallen into a truly deadly trap. What are you talking about, Rimuru? That was just the demonstration. Seal muttered this with a smile on his face, a smile that really didn't look natural. And then, to my bad luck, she took the special ball that the two had used for the game in her hands, throwing this ball in my direction. Now it's your turn to play. For a second I didn't understand what she said and I just stood looking between the ball in my hand and Ciel's red eyes, trying to understand the meaning of her words. It was only after a few seconds that all the pieces fell into place inside my head, and I understood what she meant. Wait, she wants me to go through that battlefield, like those two. The expression on my face changed to shock and I looked around, seeing the aftermath of the battle that had taken place on this training ground. Needless to say, most of the trees had already fallen in this part of the training ground. The ground was in pieces, what little grass there was dead, and for some reason there was a crowd around that was now watching us. There's no way I can get into a game like this. I thought about it, and was about to deny it, but then Ciel's voice rang out again. You two back off, girls. Daddy and I are going to show you how adults really play this game. Looking at the two faces, Shirori and Argento had excited expressions. Argento, who normally looked sleepy, was wide awake now, and Shirori had eyes that seemed to glow in anticipation of what was to come. Also, the crowd around us started whispering here and there about the game, and everyone seemed happy to see me play. Damn it, she ended the possibility of me running away. I only realized it too late, and when I looked at Ciel again I saw that she had a victorious smile on her face. Honestly, what kind of personality profile did this skill make? I feel like my own skill was stabbing me in the back. She had to be an S, really. Well, I have no escape, so. Since it's my first time playing, please take it easy on me, Ciel-chan. Of course. Let's have fun, sweetheart. And, of course, then it wasn't any fun. It was a deadly battle, in which I fought with all my strength for survival. And, of course, I narrowly missed it. Even so, let's leave that story, as well as all the complaints I got from Tasuki-chan for destroying the training ground, for another time.